Hey, what's going on, Minnesota Viking fans? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. It is Tuesday, June 30th, 2020. My name is Kyle Smith, and I am joined by Adam Carlson this week. What is up, sir? How are you?
Doing all right. A little tired. I'd much rather be taking a nap right now, but there's Viking stuff to talk about. Maybe,
I am Ron Burgundy, question
possibly.
mark.
There
Damn
might
it, who put the question mark in the teleprompter? Yeah, guys, there's not a lot of stuff going on as far as the Vikings news this week, but we're going to touch on a couple of things. This is episode 397 called Skol Pride because it's Pride Month, and I wanted to do something to recognize that. I had a couple in mind because if you go to Google, I think it was Google's homepage. This is Pride Month. We honor Black and trans women and LGBTQ and people of color. So they got very specific. I wanted to call this one "Color Me Proud," but I didn't know if that was appropriate given the situation that's going on in the nation right now. So we're just going to go with Skol Pride and tie it back to the Vikings. But I wanted to give a little nod to that and say Happy Pride Month.
Yeah, the Viking social accounts have really been very supportive for Pride Month, especially since this is, I guess, Pride Week now. Pride Week of Pride Month. I don't know if honestly don't know much about Pride, so I know that the month we're celebrating, and I know that the week we're celebrating. So why not just celebrate? I like it. I'm always
Yeah,
down to celebrate.
I think growing up for me, I didn't have too many gay or lesbian friends, and it's not. I won't say that's the overwhelming majority, but in 2020 versus the year 2000, there's a lot more people that can be open about it. But definitely, when I did my time in the military, I've met a lot more gay and lesbian folks, and they were awesome. Great people. Everyone that I've met, I have nothing negative to say, and it's not because we got to be PC friendly around here and cancel culture. I would tell you if the person just doesn't have good character, but they were all fantastic people. So in my experience, it's been great and fully support the gay and lesbian community. And I'm gonna make the Dave Chappelle joke, and all the T's and the Q's and all that will bounce down the line. Jump in the car, and you have our support too, man. Whatever you identify as, there's no judgment here. I don't like when people judge me and tell me what to do, so I'm damn sure not going to tell you what to do, and that's how I feel about that.
We're all just people trying to survive this crazy spinning rock in outer space.
That's a fantastic way to put it. That's very rock and roll of you, Adam Carlson. Very rock and roll of you. So where do we want to jump in first, man? What do you think we should talk about first here? Because there's nothing going on in the NFL. We're just patiently awaiting 3 to 4 weeks from now when hopefully, if the world calms down a little bit, specifically the U.S., we can get into training camp.
Well, today Adam Schefter did say that the NFL is expecting to go on as scheduled with training camp. So that's a very big positive right now, especially considering how they canceled the Pro Football Hall of Fame game already.
Right. That is news we can talk about. That was canceled. There was some stuff on the Viking Age as well. Two teams that the Vikings have coming up this season. Players have tested positive for, but they're going to, as far as we know, because we still don't know if you can catch the coronavirus again. Ezekiel Elliott of the Dallas Cowboys, one of our opponents this year for the Vikings, did test positive. He should be rounding out his quarantine. I believe it's coming to an end because that was a couple of weeks ago. But I think it's just a matter of me personally of when, not if. The players can be cautious, but this is a contact sport, so this is going to happen. You just don't know when they're going to get it, and it's probably not going to strike at an opportune time. I don't think the coronavirus is going to be like in anyone's life. They're like, man, this was really convenient that I got that this week.
No, we just got we had one case in our county, and we just got three more, all three at a nursing home.
Oh, that's super sad.
So yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, you never want to see that, especially, and I believe that was a lot of the numbers too. In the old folks' home, senior citizen, elderly care, whatever you want to call it. It's really sad because they don't really have anywhere else to go, especially like a lot of families like mine. My grandfather lived with us, but we had to put him in a home because it just wasn't feasible anymore. Bodies deteriorate; they need care from an actual technician or physician, and you kind of left out in the trenches there, as they say, and you just have to kind of brace with it. And older people usually already have respiratory problems, so that really sucks. I'm hoping
It's
that you
true.
guys are staying more isolated. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee now, and there's just people moving around all the time. But I'm glad that the mayor here did say that masks are now mandatory no matter wherever you're at. There, you have to have them on. So we're at least making the attempt. We'll see if people follow.
So true. And from what I've been reading, the standards for starting up for football during the preseason and the off-season workouts and everything, apparently they're a bit too strict. And some of the coaches and staff have been saying that following all these rules is going to be literally impossible.
Well, the thing that I thought was funny, you guys know, for all the loyal listeners of this show, I'm a huge Dan Levitard fan, and they always like to bring in clips of Stephen A. Smith just because he's usually outlandish and funny. And he was talking about the NBA season, which is going to start up here soon. They're going to finish that season that they were in, and should
No
have been
Timberwolves,
finishing now.
I believe.
Yeah, there you go.
No Timberwolves at all.
I don't know if they're in there. I'm a very sad Charlotte Hornets fan, so I have no idea. They're horrible every year, so they're kind of consistent there. But he was saying, 3 weeks into this quarantine, if people are actually following it, these guys are young, very, very. I don't even know how to say it, and I'm not going to even attempt to because it's going to sound really stupid. These are really active, physically fit men. And a lot of them have girlfriends and wives. It's like, if you think they're quarantining, you are outside of your mind. Yeah. They're very attractive athletes. So they're not going to be quarantining like they should. And how are you going to stop people? You're not going to tell people they can't see their loved ones. So it's going to be tough. I do like the NBA's idea. I think they were taking over Disney World. They're going to house everyone in a contained area that's not open to the public, which is kind of cool. And they'll be able to somewhat entertain themselves. But I don't know how you do that with the NFL because there's so many more players. You'd have to rent out a huge city and pretty much give it to the players, and that's just not really possible. So
even the WWE is having problems, and they have a limited number of people that are working each show. And they just had, I believe, I don't know if it was 3 or 5, but they had a handful of people that caught the coronavirus, and they were trying to hide the names, and some of them had already gone on their social media accounts to let people know, and so that's kind of a mess.
Trying to keep it on the low, and then they just tweet it out for the world. That's funny. Yep. So this is a ever-changing situation. Adam and I were just talking about it before we started. Europe has already crunched their numbers down. I don't really think the U.S. was trying too hard to keep people out. They said a lot of things. The business is shut down for sure, but especially when I was in New York, it looked like nothing changed. People were out, people were on the road. And the other thing that you think of too, just now that we're on the coronavirus thing for a second, we banned international travel, which is probably smart for the time being, but people still travel within the US. So it's just a gigantic pool of people giving it to one another, thinking about flying and whatnot. So
all that, and there's leadership telling you it's fake. There's leadership telling you that numbers aren't real because of the way they're being tested and resolved. And it's taking what should have been an easy 2-week stay at home, do your thing, and made it into a real mess.
Yeah, because this is going to drag on for the rest of this year. Tomorrow starts the second half of 2020. I saw a meme about that today. It's like you're peeking around the corner to see what the second half of the year looks like. And we still got a long way to go. I don't see this going away anytime soon. Even if we do find a way to flatten the curve, as they say, it's still going to be here, come the holidays. So who knows?
I believe the Detroit Lions already said that they are expecting to play the season, but they right now are not about to let fans into their stadium.
I think that's a smart move. I think we, at least here on the show, that's the consensus. You can have, if you want to try to have a season and have the players stay together and try to quarantine, yeah, that's fine. But bringing fans in there, that's just a terrible, terrible idea at this point. Next season, sure, we can predict a year from now things probably settle down. But this season, they shouldn't have fans in stands. Just a safety aspect.
It's tough though because of how good the Vikings are at home with that crowd behind them.
That's true. And that's going to throw – that's another interesting dynamic. That's going to throw another wrench into – and a variable into the season is if there's no real home advantage except for the travel time, that could change a lot of things. You got to think about places like Kansas City, the reigning Super Bowl champs. My dad's been there. He's a huge fan. He said there's no other stadium like that. It's insane. and then
And
it's just going
crowds
to be
that
empty.
teams that don't get a lot of fan support, they might see this as a benefit.
True. Some teams travel really well. Their fans go around, travel very well, and maybe they're not there. It's a lot of interesting and weird variables. Kirk Cousins already said that he wouldn't mind it, which I thought that was funny. But hey, man, whatever helps, Maybe he'll
He's just
thrive.
going with the flow.
What's that?
He's just going with the flow.
Yeah,
He's not going to come out and say, "Yeah, I wouldn't like that one bit. I'd hate it." He's not that kind of guy.
That's true. Captain Caucasian with the bland take of the year. Gotta love him. Oh, let's start with NFL news abroad. It pretty much rocked the world. It's Tuesday and it came out Sunday night. The New England Patriots acquired Cam Newton. The Panthers. I feel like the Panthers kind of screwed him over. I know it's a business and all, but they didn't make it known until after free agency had pretty much came and went as far as the big wave and surge. And you got to think, Cam Newton's a former MVP 4 seasons ago, went to the Super Bowl, 15-1 with the Panthers. Fortunately, they lost to the Broncos that year. But he was amazing that season. He's always been a dynamic athlete. I watched him single-handedly beat the Vikings a couple of years ago in the Minneapolis Miracle season. I still remember that drive. And he's just always been up and down, but he's always had that X factor of, breaking it off and winning the game. And no teams reached out. They said that Cleveland called and kind of sort of were interested, and that was it. And I was really worried personally that the Bears were going to pick him up because I think if he would have went to Chicago, that would have instantly made them a contender with the defense because their quarterback sucks there. We'll just say
Not a fan of Foles?
I'm not a fan of Mitch Trubisky. Now, Foles, I don't know how he's going to work there, and he was injured last year, but I know if Cam Newton came in, he would absolutely be the starter, and I think they would be a lot better. But
there were a lot of Vikings fans that wanted to see if they could get him on the cheap to come in and be a backup for Kirk Cousins, but that would never happen.
Yeah, no, that would be too much of a controversy. The Kirk Cousins has a couple of weeks like he did at the beginning of last year, and everyone would be screaming for Cam Newton on the side. And I also thought about Pittsburgh. He'd be a great successor to Big Ben Roethlisberger. It's a great team. Mike Tomlin could do wonders with him, in my opinion. But he ends up going to play for arguably the best coach of all time, and they're depleted. New England is not the New England we've known from 5-6 years ago. But I think he instantly upgrades them. I'm not going to give them Super Bowl status, but I think now they are back in the race for the AFC East. I think they're the favorites, and all Cam's got to do is not mess it up, and I think he'll be fine. So that's going to be interesting. But Cam Newton is a New England Patriot, guys. That is a weird thing to say.
The Panthers never really had a lot of great wide receiver help anyway. I mean, for him to go to New England now and he's got a bunch of slot receivers, I don't think that's going to hurt him too much because, like I said, he hasn't had much to deal with at all in the past anyway. But that New England defense is legit.
Yeah,
they'll be able to keep the point total low, and Cam can put points on the board. So that's going to be scary. The good thing, of course, is the Minnesota Vikings do not play the New England Patriots this year.
Nope.
Unless something really crazy happens and everything's very good, then they won't be seeing them.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. It's interesting. I think it's exactly what the league needs. I think it just makes – I hate it. It's kind of like back in the day when they said the Cowboys and the Niners and all those teams, when they're good, the league is good. I think when the Patriots are good, there's always something because there's somebody to root against because not a lot of people are Patriot fans. So I like that aspect, and it makes the AFC very interesting there with Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson, and now Cam freaking Newton is there. So the AFC just kind of balanced out again, which is cool.
Having those villains to cheer against can be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So this was an interesting one. This is on the Viking Age from Louis Tirado, one of Adam's fellow writers over there. CBS
He's actually one of our bosses. Is that guy?
Oh, nice. Well, I didn't know that, but I learned something today. CBS Sports, Lewis wrote an article, and they predicted the Minnesota Vikings to go 9-7 this season. And, that would be just enough to get them in the playoffs. I certainly hope they win more than 9 games, but I'm not going to say that that's far out of the realm of possibility.
I think people always predict 9 for the Vikings. I think that's the only prediction I've ever seen is 9. and
Minus
maybe
the one
8-8.
where Adam Rank predicted 3-13 and we won 10 games last year because he's terrible at everything.
I love his takes though on when he like melds football and wrestling. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I think isn't he a huge Chicago homer as well?
Oh yes,
Yeah, of course he's going to pick the
absolutely.
Bears every year.
Well, the Bears on paper seemed okay, and then they came off a really good season, and you're like, oh, all right. And then no, just no.
That's the one thing, and I've said it previously in the last couple of months that really bothered me about last season. Going into this year, the Vikings have to do better in the division. They got swept by the Bears and the Packers. 2-4 in the division. If it wasn't for a great October and November run last year, they would not have made the playoffs, and there would be a different narrative going around right now for the Vikings.
It's true. Nearly losing to the Broncos was scary. That one could have been a big turnaround.
The game wasn't good. Yeah, there was a couple of games that were not good, and then we had those hard-fought games that we lost, like I thought we should have beat the Packers early on. I definitely thought we could have won in Seattle. It's probably the best I've seen the Vikings play in Seattle in a long time. So, yeah, there would have been a different narrative, especially with Mike Zimmer. If we would have went maybe 8-8 last year, that would have been a totally different narrative. But yeah, CBS Sports predicts the Vikings to go 9-7, and it says they will have growing pains on defense. I'm not going to downplay Lewis here and say that's a generic take, but I agree with it. There's nothing too far-fetched, and we've said it here. When you have a bunch of rookies coming in and possibly starting, or second-year players, we're definitely going to be starting a rookie somewhere at corner, which terrifies me.
And the young corners, they aren't going to have the pressure of Everson Griffin, and more pressure is going to be put on Danielle Hunter. More attention on Danielle. It's going to be a team effort to get pressure.
Yeah, we talked about it, Wes and I think last week. We're saying, we forgot about the Dom Capers hire, which is really cool. I think they're going to figure out different ways to get pressure. I'm really excited about that addition. But it's going to have to be a collective effort, like you said. And you might see a couple of different things that we haven't seen necessarily in the past, and maybe not so with Zimmer anyways. To make up for the lack of experience on defense. But I'm excited to see it. I think the talent is there, but that's the other thing about this Corona stuff. It's putting a real damper on team activities, OTAs, things like that. Those little things matter, getting those, even if it's just walkthroughs and virtual reps, if they're not even together, I think that puts a huge damper on the chemistry, but we'll see. Weirder things have happened. Sorry, Bob. Sorry, Viking Jerome and Scott. I had something overlapping this window, so I'm going to put you guys in here. Thank you guys for tuning in, as always. Got some regulars here on the show.
Always good to have him here.
See, and I swear I didn't read this comment, and now we're talking about it. 2 defensive coordinators this year. I think I like the experience. I think we said.
Wait, so you put the comment up before you read it? You're a trusting man.
No. I'm saying I didn't see any of these.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't realize that I had spoken on a topic that someone had, because I have this window and it's just covering up the comments and I can see yours in my face. So that's cool. But yeah,
the 2 defensive coordinators, I don't think that's going to be a problem.
No, I don't think so. I like the experience. And I think, like I said, it shows Zimmer's humble. And I also think it gives room. I mean, you got to adapt. The NFL is not what it was 10 years ago. If you go back and watch that 2010 or 2009 season with the Vikings, it looks completely different. The NFL is so much different, and I think that's a credit to see that Zimmer's not too stubborn to let new ideas and new faces in there. I mean, if I was him, I would feel a little pressure with having Gary Kubiak there. He's very successful, but he works well with him, and I think the offense benefited a lot last year. So I'm hoping that Capers will have the same effect on the other side of the ball, but who knows?
A lot of experience to go with a lot of youth, and that's usually a good combination.
I love Scott's comment. I didn't keep this long, but why not? No Mexico City, no Pro Bowl. Oh man, yeah, no London games. I know that there's a good fan base in Europe, and I'm not trying to poo-poo on them, but man, those London games just get on my nerves. I'm not a fan of them whatsoever. I'm glad that won't be happening.
Nope, every game should be played in Detroit this year.
Every single one of them.
I have heard that they're that is an option, picking one city and and doing it like the NBA is. And I don't know how that would work, and I don't know how a lot of this would work, but honestly, I'm just hoping it does work because a lot of people were skeptical that the NBA draft would happen or the NFL draft would happen, and it went off without a hitch. So I'm excited to see what this has.
So I'm reading another article by Lewis, and it says Bleacher Report had predicted Justin Jefferson to take the NFL by storm. God, I hope that's right.
I don't think there's an option.
Yeah, there's probably not. And you know what makes me think about that? I'm glad that I decided to click on this because it makes me think on the fly, and I think that's better for original stuff to say out loud. You know, back when we drafted Cordell Patterson or Laquan Treadwell, we didn't have like a superstar receiver like a Diggs or a Thielen. We have a legit number one right now. He might be at the bottom end of number ones in the NFL, but he is a number one receiver. I think those guys had a lot more pressure on him than needed. And there was a lot more of this is kind of a gamble because, Laquan Treadwell was a little too slow, maybe a little injury history there they had bounced back from. The size was there, but maybe not the speed. And then Cordell Patterson was very raw. He did have lots of raw talent, which we saw in the return game. But this kid, he's just impressive. Everything that he did at LSU was super impressive, and it jumps off the stat sheet when you look at it.
And he's going to get targets this year. It's going to happen.
Absolutely. If you don't think that people are going to double Adam Thielen, you're crazy. And then I think that's a benefit to him. I think Tajay Sharp's going to look good. I also think that Rudolph and or Irv Smith are going to have the chance to. There's a lot of good pass catchers on this
I don't even know if Sharp's going to make the team.
You think so?
That's going to be a close one.
I really hope that he does. I watched some of his tape, and when he came on last year, because the Titans weren't a pass-heavy offense last year, but I liked what I saw from him. I think he's a solid veteran. I don't think he's going to blow the top off of anything, but I would love to see him on the team. And he had the most epic post-game presser of the entire season last year. Did you see that when they?
I did not.
When they beat the Ravens the Titans did in the AFC divisional. They came out and mocked the Ravens, and he was the one who was like, "Big trust, best running back in the game, Derrick Henry. If you got a problem, come see me." He's mocking Mark Ingram. I was like, man, that was some balls there. That was pretty funny. Oof. I didn't know that was him, though. We watched it the other day at work, but that's pretty funny. So that's a hot take from Adam Carlson here. He doesn't even think Tajay Sharp's going to make the team.
It's going to be tough for him.
Interesting.
I mean, the older players, sure, they might want to sprinkle in some experience, but they drafted excuse me, they drafted some wide receivers that look really good, some that might fill needs in other spots, maybe take on a punt return or a kick return duty. I believe KJ Osborne's going to get one of those spots. I don't think that they've got some of our other players going anywhere. I don't think BC's going anywhere.
No, BC Johnson will be there. If Chad Beebe's healthy, he has a ton of acceleration. I definitely think there's a spot for him on the team as well.
Whoever gets with that last spot, they're going to be working hard for it, and there's going to be a lot of people fighting for it.
I'm going to look up this trade rumor. My brother was pretty pissed when he read that, but I don't think that this is going to happen. But it would be a solid addition to the Minnesota Vikings.
Talking about the Charger dude?
Yeah, and this is 16 hours ago, and this is, I don't even know this, Vikings Wire. But I saw it a lot on Instagram. That's one of my complaints. I've complained to these guys a lot in the chat is I'm tired of these 12-year-olds running sports news pages. When all it is they just want clicks and views. It's really annoying. But yeah, there is a rumor going around there that the Vikings are interested in cornerback Desmond King from the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't see this happening. I don't know what we would give up. There's cap now, which is nice. I don't know what the Vikings are going to do with the rest of that cap. It's really odd to me, thinking about it now, just on the fly. It's really odd that they've got about $12 million in cap and Everson Griffin's still not signed. So I would keep that in the back of your mind because he's familiar, and I could definitely see them re-signing him if he would come back. But I don't think they're going to go out and get Desmond King, although he would be a wonderful addition to the team.
I think they're just trying to get money for Dalvin Cook right now.
Yeah, that too. we have no updates on the Dalvin Cook situation, but that is actually funny that you mentioned that because we can transition from the very little not credited rumor to your boy Adam Patrick over there on the Viking Age. Analytics expert says Dalvin Cook is amongst most deserving of a new deal, and that is interesting. Says NFL Network's Cynthia Freeland believes Dalvin Cook deserves a new contract. We don't think so.
And that's strange because I believe is it Pro Football Focus that said that the Minnesota should save their money?
Yes. I'm almost positive, yes.
Yeah, it's so odd seeing all these analytics people coming up with different answers for the same question. Like their stats don't add up or something. I don't know.
Well, it says down here, and this is the interesting point, just for the talking point for you guys here, and whoever's watching in the chat, you can chime in. But Freeland gave the Minnesota Viking running back a deal priority ranking of 7 out of top 10. So she says to come up with these rankings, she used data from her win share model and forward-looking projections that estimate future win and the impact that players have. So after Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott, they were the first 3. Cook was the 4th most deserving, not 7th, sorry. He and Alvin Kamara. So that's the only 2 running backs that appeared on the list. And you got to think, too, these are the guys that have just been drafted in the last 2 or 3 years because you're talking about Mahomes, Watson, Prescott, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook. So they're all on the rookie deal. So that makes total sense.
Stupid Alvin Kamara, Mr. F Minnesota.
I'm not even mad at him. I was just happy when I saw that.
No, you don't say F Minnesota.
Oh,
he can go F himself.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to argue with you there. I'm not mad about that at all.
But he can do it somewhere else, not in Minnesota.
I just look back to the Minneapolis Miracle and then the.
I understand that when he was saying all that, he was emotional and upset. I get it.
Yeah.
Still.
So what do we call the beatdown in New Orleans?
I don't know.
That's 2 out of the last 3 years because it's the Minneapolis Miracle. I'm trying to think of something cool for the New Orleans. Yeah, just look at the product on the field, dude. We've ruined 2 of the last 3 seasons for you. So that's you can take that for what it's worth. Yeah, that's interesting though. I was talking to a friend of mine today. He's a huge Eagles fan at work, and I said, what I would like to see the Vikings do if I was GM for a day. I'm not sure that anybody would ever trust me with that, but we talked about it before a couple weeks ago. Like the Christian McCaffrey deal was around $16 million, but that's not guaranteed. It's only about 7 when you look at it. How would we feel, and how would you feel, the guys in the chat and the guys that watch this later, if the Vikings gave him a fully guaranteed deal, but it wasn't up in the teens? What if we offered him $9 million a year for 3 years and we gave it to him guaranteed? He's got his guaranteed money. It's not going to be that huge casualty up, and I think that's a fair price for what he's done for the team so far. If I was him, I'd take that and run with it. No pun intended.
I don't know. I think that we're at the age where the older veteran players want the fully guaranteed contracts, and the younger players want the incentive-laden contracts that they can just make a ton of money off.
True. I'm thinking for running backs, and I'm not a running back guy, obviously, and I'm not a GM, obviously, but I'm thinking about the shelf life of running backs. So where Dalvin Cook is now, he's 24. If he got a 3-year deal, that'd put him at 27. He'd get one more chance to get a really big deal. But I think that would be the first of his kind to get a fully guaranteed, kind of like Kirk Cousins did. Say what you want about him. He's a genius, and his agent is the best one in the league because he got all his money guaranteed. I don't know why those guys don't go after that more, because it's guaranteed money. And that's not chump change. If you're at $9 million a season, it's $27 million guaranteed. I run with that because the shelf life for any player on average is 3 seasons, but running backs are even worse. Look at Todd Gurley. That's a perfect example. 2 years ago, he was dominating the league and he was in the Super Bowl. Now he's an afterthought in Atlanta. He might not even be the starter down there. It's crazy how fast they turn around.
It is.
Well, I'm not going to say we're done, but unfortunately, I don't have any more windows open. So what else did we have on the docket that you wanted to tackle today?
I honestly didn't have too much to talk about. Basically, what we wanted to do was not go to quick show so we could talk about more stuff next week. I think we waited a little long on this one, and we still didn't have much, but it's good just to be able to talk with you guys, have you guys here in the chat to ask some questions and hang out. We're really glad to have you guys around because football is something to talk about that isn't always super depressing.
Yeah, there's a lot of drama in other sports too, like the Bubba Wallace stuff in NASCAR, which is, thank God NASCAR is still going around. I think they were trying to play golf at a couple places, and then people's caddies tested positive, so they shut that down. As far as we know, for other sports, the MLB and the NBA have both agreed to try to start up here soon. I think it's crazy that baseball is going to try to do it because they should have been well into their season by now. They should have been 3 or 4 months in.
And wrestling's got the COVID and the sex scandals and stuff going on constantly.
2020 is just not the year, man. It's not. Coronavirus is ruining everything on top of all the race tension, and then there's an election coming up. It's just, this year is just a prank in itself. Like, okay, guys, you can pop out and throw the confetti and say, surprise, we're done with this so far. But as far as us for here at the Purple People podcast, I'm not going to make the executive decision because it's not fully my show, but I would like to wait until we have something else to talk about next. And maybe that means we take a week off or something, let stuff generate. But I can tell you what is coming up. We mentioned the NBA. They're going to start around the end of July, I believe. Maybe it's the beginning. They're going to start in July at some point. Training camp for the NFL is scheduled to go forward at the end of July. So we've only got 30 days, and that'll fly by.
Sadly, going to training camp for the Vikings is a tradition for a lot of people.
Yep.
And not being able to do it this year is going to be quite saddening. I know a lot of it changed to be more geared towards kids with the kids autograph zone and the younger people being able to experience more with on the field activities even. But adult fans still can go and enjoy family night and see some of the veterans that were walking around the field and enjoy a nice little scrimmage. But it's weird that tradition is going to be missing a year, but it's something that'll be a footnote in history, even though it feels so strange right now.
Yeah, this is an odd year.
Yeah.
It's
very
really
strange
for everyone. But we'll obviously the show's going to keep going on, guys. For all you guys that watch this later, we'll keep you posted and we'll try to get you some content out and some up-to-date news as it comes. But this is one of the biggest dead spots we've ever had, at least as long as I've been on the show, just because of the pandemic and everything going on. So we apologize for that, not having a lot to talk about. But when we do,
we still went through the content we had pretty well.
No, yeah, I think we did great for what we had. It's just really slow at the moment because everybody's taking precautions. So we'll give you up-to-date news as it comes along. But if that's it, we'll plug some stuff and we'll get out of here for this week.
Yeah, I do want to thank everyone for checking out the Viking Age and Undead Walking. Both those sites are a lot of fun, and I know I have a lot of fun with everybody that's working on them. A lot of content constantly going out there. I've been kind of slacking on both because I've been working on setting up my Twitch account, which is twitch.tv/MNVikingZombie. That's where you can find me. I just ordered a nice green screen, so I should be doing some Jackbox gaming. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jackbox games, but those are a lot of fun. They're really social. People can watch the stream, and they can play the game at home with their cell phones. It's really cool, and I hope that some of you can check out my stream, maybe give me a follow, check out some of the gameplay, hop in, have some fun. Yeah, I'd like that.
That sounds like fun, man. Also, he mentioned it earlier, Adam did, but there's also Undead Walking. If you want to support this guy here on the screen with that big, luscious beard, hook him up, man. Go to these sites and interact.
Getting there.
I'm trying.
Beards ain't cheap.
I'm trying. It's going to be there eventually.
The bigger the beard gets, the more oil it needs.
I know. That's the crappiest part that I've learned from finally getting to grow a beard like a real man. I have to wash my face very, very thoroughly every day because you put the beard oil or the beard wax in. It's kind of a pain, but if you don't, it looks terrible. So, but yeah, check these sites out, man. Undead Walking in the Viking Age. Our own Adam Carlson right here with me on this show. If you go interact and comment below, you pay his bills and help him keep a roof over his head. So do that. And
follow me on Twitch if you would. That'd be amazing.
Follow him on Twitch too. That'd be awesome. Mr. West is not here this week. He's at work right now. Total nerd. What a loser. Who works?
Yeah, what a money-making jerk.
Redbubble.com/people/Phantasm Digital. So he was doing stuff before, and I've totally forgot the other platform he had, but I guess it doesn't matter. This is pinned at our Facebook page, and you can buy prints from him, original artwork, and photos of his stuff. Or if you wanted to buy Purple People podcast gear, you can buy it there. So check that out and hook him up, man. He can make a little money too.
Yeah.
I don't have much. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I put this on last week. If you think that I'm an interesting person, there's my Instagram. Hook it up and give me a follow.
Yeah, every once in a while you go live and do a performance with your guitar, and it's fun.
I sure do. I actually bought this light over here just for that. I stole that idea from my favorite artist here in Nashville.
You go there and just tell them to play Freebird over and over.
Over and over again. And I'll tease you a little bit with the beginning, and then I'll stop. I'll let you do the honors, man.
Yeah, thanks again to everyone who joined us in the chat, everyone who checked us out late, everyone who's listening live and not chatting. You're welcome here too. It's okay. You don't got to chat. But still, we appreciate you. Thank you again to everyone who shares the show with their friends, listens on iTunes, YouTube, Podomatic, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts. We're there. And if we're not there, we're in a different place. It's okay. Just keep looking. We'll be around.
We're everywhere. We're in your sock drawer. You just don't know it.
We're on Spotify. Everyone has Spotify. We're there. We are at that one. So, yeah, plenty of reasons to check us out. And we appreciate that you guys do. So, hug your loved ones, pet your pets, and stay classy, Minnesota.